Okay, we didn't finish the definitions or the terms for the different types of forces for the last one, so this is just to catch you up on that. The last type of force, which you can kind of see has to do with a rope, a string, or a cable, is called a tension force, and that's abbreviated with FT. This would be a pull exerted by a rope, string, or cable, and it must be taut, so kind of pulled tightly. If you have a string like this cable that's not taut, this is taut. The direction of this one is always the same as the direction of the pull. So if you have an object and a string is attached and being pulled that way, the force is that same direction. These are our four types. Again, there is this argument that really you should have, many more descriptions of the types of forces. But then you can have people that argue down that this normal force, friction force, and tension force should be all considered one force, and those would all be considered an electromagnetic force or repulsion, where then gravity is the only other type. So two forces. You have in chemistry, you have a strong force and a weak force that is talking about the nucleus. We will not be talking about the strong force or weak force in here. But for us, we're going to use these four and kind of go from there. Now, the last thing on this page that isn't a type of force, but it's clearing up just kind of that idea that when we talk about all of these forces together, there is a term that we use called net force. Net meaning like your net income, if you add up how much money you get for babysitting, plus your job, plus your allowance, that's your net income. Net force is the same idea. It's the sum of all the forces. So we'll use the abbreviation sigma F. Sigma is the Greek letter, and it stands for the sum of in math. So sum of the forces, meaning all of these forces together. And that is just the same idea of how much you are getting when you add these together. So your net force can be equal to force of gravity plus the normal force plus force of friction and so on. It's really talking about the sum of all the forces. It's not a separate force on its own, but mathematically it's what we're looking at when we look at them all together. Okay, go on to the next video for the rest of the notes.